Recently, we had an amazing friend, John Luke Spittler, in the Economic War Room with a great HR company that he calls the Encompass Group. That was episode 263, where he shared about empowering employees and employers to work together in building great companies. Now, he loves the term DEI, but he admitted it's been weaponized, it's been abused, and if interpreted correctly, it actually is a good thing. Properly from a biblical view, diversity is a good thing. So is equal opportunity, not equity, but equal opportunity. And so is the idea of inclusion. We shouldn't cut people out. But unfortunately, these have been turned on their head by politics and a malevolent form of DEI, which is destroying the American economy. John Luke explained the importance of culture and how to build it. And that is important, but that's half the equation. Understanding how to build a culture with good employees, the other half of that is connecting great people with great companies to be the building blocks of that culture. But how do employers find great talent? And how does talent find a great company? To learn more, we invited Andrew Crapuchettes, founder and CEO of RedBalloon, into the Economic War Room. Welcome, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kevin. It's exciting to be here.
Hey, let's start with RedBalloon. That's an intriguing title, intriguing name. Describe your company and how you came up with that name.
Yeah, so RedBalloon.work, it's not a .com, it's a .work, because we think work is actually good for the soul, it's redeeming, and .com sounded a little bit too much like communism to me, and we don't want communism, so RedBalloon.work. So we are the nation's leading pro-freedom job board. You can call it an anti-woke job board or a pro-freedom. I like to focus on pro-freedom. So we focus on taking great companies who have signed a pledge that they think the Constitution matters and that they're going to protect the freedom of their current and future employees. And we've connected those employers with great employees who believe that what made America great in the first place was hard work, respecting each other, and not whining about every little thing in the office. And
let's just stop for a second and say, you had companies sign a pledge.
Yes.
They sign a pledge to be able, so you tell your customer, hey, if you want to work with us, you have to sign a pledge.
Correct.
That we respect and abide by the Constitution.
You respect and abide by the Constitution, and you're going to protect the freedom of your employees. And it's been awesome because I've had employers come to me and say, look, I want access to the amazing people that are on RedBalloon.work because they're hardworking Americans, largely conservative, largely Christian, who just want to show up and do their job. And I'm like, well, then we need to talk about you removing that BLM sticker from your homepage because that's not the kind of business that these people want to work for. And so if you want to participate in this freedom economy where you get the best kind of employees, you got to sign this pledge. No problem.
You sound like an individual who recognizes that we are in an economic war
100%.
And that employment and investing and all these things have been weaponized to bring cultural Marxism to America.
Yeah.
And you're fighting back.
That's it. And it comes from my story, right? So I won't belabor all the details, but I've had 6 successful exits over the years. I've sold businesses ranging from a couple $100,000 to many hundreds of millions of dollars. So some very large exits. And what I found is those people are using that money. They take control of the business. So businesses that I founded, I got fired from because I'm an unapologetic conservative Christian CEO. And they just were not comfortable with that. Even though the business is growing 25% a year with a 40% margin, that wasn't good enough. I was fired for perception, not performance. And so when I saw that so blatantly over the last couple of years, I thought there's going to be a lot of Americans who are going to be in a tough spot. Because for a conservative, for a Christian, if you're canceled from Facebook, you just kind of shrug it off. It's not that big a deal unless you make a living doing it and so on and so forth. But if you are canceled from your ability to feed your kids and pay your mortgage, then you're going to be very tempted to compromise on something that you hold very dearly. And I heard a lot of these stories, whether it was the vaccine mandates, whether it was the really Marxist DEI training that they were going through. All of these people are coming to me with these stories saying, it is eroding my whole worldview to be working at this organization, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And like, okay, well, God's given me the skills and the abilities. I should build a place where they can find each other and they can be free at work.
That is economic warfare. It's economic warfare when you tell a person you'll lose your job unless you conform to what we want.
That's right.
It's a means of canceling people, but also canceling culture entirely.
Right.
And now what you've got is, it sounds like it's not a hiring site. You're not a job website. You are actually advancing freedom for willing participants, both employers and employees.
That's right. So, and this should be encouraging to Americans. So we founded RedBalloon.work about 2 years ago, and we've had over 3,500 businesses join the platform and say, yes, I want to hire those kind of people. I'm willing to sign that pledge. And so they post their jobs, and they're now hiring through this platform. And we've had over 1.5 million job seekers on the platform looking for opportunities where they can be free at work. And Kevin, this is the only business I've ever run where I get these unsolicited thank you notes from perfect strangers. I had a lady in Texas who wrote me and said, I just wanted you to know you saved my marriage, because my husband was working at a job where he was swimming in this woke water all day long, and it affects your worldview. A lot of that DEI training is really a liturgy designed to push a worldview a certain direction. And so he's living in that, and you can't help but bring that stuff home. Well, he now works for a company that he found through RedBalloon. He's free at work, and she said, our marriage is better, our kids are plugged in, we're going to church again. Your vocation is such an important part of who you are. And if you can be free at work, you're going to have an opportunity to be free in all these other aspects of your life. So it really, God has laid this on my heart that I needed to do this. I fully intend to turn it into $1 billion business.
Well, we are the majority.
Absolutely.
I'm fully convinced we're being lied to, being told that we're the minority, and they're cramming this stuff down with the hope that they can brainwash us fast enough that the majority doesn't stand up.
That's right.
Well, you've gotten on your blog. I found 3 of them that I thought were fantastic on DEI. And let's start with the first one. You don't call diversity. What do you call it?
Divisiveness.
Explain that.
Yeah. So when you are taking the problem with CRT and the whole idea around what they call DEI today is you are putting people in categories that are inherently going after each other, right? And so it is basically saying, regardless of your performance, regardless of your background, regardless of your education, we're going to give you a promotion, or we're going to deny a promotion, we're going to give you a job or deny a job because of those aspects, rather than the meritocracy that made America great in the first place.
Performance.
And so it pits every employee against each other. And so that, of course, is going to drive divisiveness in the workplace.
Well, I've got some statistics here. You quote that 60% of people are afraid to speak up, which creates emotional detachment. 91% are required to be indoctrinated, and they're spending $8 billion a year for this training on DEI. Only 33% of employees are engaged, happy, or excited to be at work. Now, we're going to have to pause there for a break. When we come back, I want to dive deeper into divisiveness, and then we'll talk about the E and the I. In uncertain times, finding stability in the economy can feel challenging. But what if you could navigate economic volatility while honoring your biblical values? At Timothy Plan, they believe this balance is possible. Timothy Plan filters its volatility-weighted ETFs and family of mutual funds through a biblical pro-life and pro-family lens, so you can see competitive returns and moral responsibility, helping you to weather the economic storms. With Timothy Plan, align your investments with your values while adapting to our ever-changing culture. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has been recognized leader in biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, your bridge between faith, finances, and the future. Visit timothyplan.com or call 1-800-TIM-PLAN or 1-800-846-7526. Investing includes risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Here's a $10 bill. It's got the picture of Alexander Hamilton on the front of it. You know, it's kind of sad. When I was 10 years old, everything that I could buy for $1 now costs about $10. That's the cost of inflation. It's just paper. It's not backed by anything. You can't exchange it for gold and silver. You used to, but you can't do that anymore. And that's unfortunate. You know, pirates wouldn't accept this. Pirates, they wanted gold and silver. Patriots, the founders of this nation, also wanted gold and silver coin. In fact, they put a provision in the Constitution, 17 words, that said states could only make gold and silver coins tender within the states. That's why I wrote this new book, Pirate Money, Discovering the Founders' Hidden Plan for Economic Justice and Defeating the Great Reset. It will explain exactly the history of money and exactly why gold and silver coins can be made modern with new technology and a useful monetary system. PirateMoneyBook.com. Andrew, I've been reading the blog that you put at redballoon.work.
RedBalloon.work.
There's a blog there, and it says, quotes, a November 2022 survey of hiring managers by resumebuilder.com.
Yep.
It says 1 in 6 have been asked to deprioritize hiring white males.
That's right. That's right.
48% have been asked to prioritize diversity over skills, experience, and other qualifications. 53% of hiring managers believe their jobs will be in danger if they don't hire enough diverse employees. Is that really true?
Yeah, and the last one is 70% of the hiring managers believe that the company is just virtue signaling, that they don't actually believe it. But this is a broad survey that hit a lot of hiring managers, and we're hearing this all the time. Wells Fargo, who was interviewing black women, mostly to hit a quota even for jobs that weren't open. I mean, think how insulting that is to a person. Because of who your parents are, because of how you were born, I'm going to give you an interview for a job that doesn't even exist. I'm going to waste your time, and you're just checking a box for me. That is so dehumanizing of
Even
a human
when you
being.
get hired, no matter how skilled you
That's
are,
right.
Everybody's question, well, they're just checking a box.
That's right.
I mean, by contrast, what was that movie? There was a movie about the computers at NASA. Kevin Costner was in it.
Right.
And it was all these black women that were genius
100%.
mathematicians, but they couldn't even go into the same building. We've gone so far now that we're elevating them, but not even, we're taking people for their skin color and not for their capabilities.
That's right. And I'm going to tell you a story, and this might curl your hair a little bit, which you've already got
I
curly
have
hair,
hair,
so
yeah.
it's fine. Yeah, and I don't. So I was talking to an executive at Microsoft, and she said that she had an American flag for her background for Teams. And the HR department called her the next day and said, so that is triggering to some of our employees because it's a sign of white supremacy in the workplace to have an American flag. So she was told, you may not do that again or you're going to be written up by HR. The next day, another coworker had a picture of a black man being lynched, and it said at the bottom, a good man died at your hands today. And base, it's right out of that CRT playbook. So this is what DEI has become in the workplace.
And they didn't get reprimanded for that.
Not only was it not reprimanded, it was celebrated. It was celebrated that you had the bravery, the courage to do this. And it is so dehumanizing to everyone, no matter what your skin color is. If you are valued based on those aspects of you, not based on your hard work, your merit, your education, your grit, it's terrible. I had a VP of sales who worked for me. He actually was a sales guy. I promoted him to VP of sales. He was a black man. He was very, very gifted. And he came into my office. He's like, I need to ask, why am I getting this promotion? Is it because of my skin color? Because I did a good job? Because if it's because of my skin color, I'm going to have to say no, because that's insulting to me.
It is insulting.
It's insulting to me. And I said, no, you are the best person for the job. He's like, then I'd love to take this promotion. So I think that as you said, we are the majority. There's a lot of Americans who are seeing through this stuff, but they just feel like, well, I've just got to go along to get along, and I'm going to self-censor on these things. And that is actually hurting our economy, and it's hurting the businesses that are adopting these policies.
Well, let's talk about the E, because that kind of ties into exclusion. Tell me about that.
Well, exclusion. So obviously they talk about equity, and equity is not giving everybody a fair chance. It's making sure everyone ends equal. It's the way that they define it, it is it's a wrong way to think about the world. It's soccer games that don't keep score. It's
Harrison Bergeron from Kurt Vonnegut that I had to read in high school, and I thought, this is stupid. No one would ever put up with that, and we're doing it now.
Yes, this egalitarian, like everyone has to end the same. And so what we say is and the problem is, I think you mentioned these are fine words: diversity, equity, inclusion, and they've just been weaponized. The same way that pronouns have been weaponized, right? We learned about pronouns in kindergarten. They're an okay thing, but a lot of people are using them as a bludgeoning device to push a worldview, and that's what's happening. So this equity is an exclusionary thing. It's saying, look, if you have worked really hard to get to here, we are going to have to drag you down to put you at the same level as someone who has not worked as hard, and that's what really hurts the workplace.
Which in the blog, it shows labor productivity, output per hour for all workers is dropping dramatically from 2020 to the first quarter of this year. I think it was down the most it's ever been down.
That's right. And you look at Silicon Valley Bank, and I talked to people at Silicon Valley Bank. They went through a weekly microaggression training. So every week they got a dose of microaggression training for the entire company. Well, what happened is, he said, there were people in the credit department that knew that the bank was going to fail, but they knew that it would be considered a microaggression if they talked to anybody about it. And so you lose all innovation. If you can't argue over things, if you can't discuss things, there is no innovation anymore. There's no identification of major problems for the business. And so that's what happened at Silicon Valley Bank, and I think is happening in a microcosm
Real people
all
lost
across the
real
country.
money because of that bad policy.
That's right, and that's what that exclusionary, it's excluding the ability to interact, to debate, to work hard together. If you have to walk on eggshells around all of your coworkers because you never know when they're going to get offended, then your business is going to really struggle and or fail like Silicon Valley Bank did.
Yeah. All right, let's jump to the I, which the blog labels ineffective.
Yep.
And then there's a story at the beginning of it. I've got to read this because I'm a huge fan. You look around, you can see Winston Churchill. This is like Churchill's World War II. I love history.
Yeah.
I love World War II. And I love the British Royal Air Force and the Spitfire and all that. Let me read this quote. In the World War II Battle of Britain, the Royal Air Force, RAF, withstood crushing odds to hold off the Germans. Badly outnumbered, the British boasted the best pilots and aircraft in the world, and their underdog victory led Winston Churchill to proclaim, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." And then it goes on and says how things have changed. Recently, journalists discovered that the RAF is now turning away qualified pilots and instead selecting team members based on race and gender. A leaked email reveals that managers were desperately trying to fill diversity quotas. I don't really need to see loads of useless white male pilots. I am more than happy to reduce boarding if needed to have a balanced BAME/female/male board. There are mountains of studies from left-leaning outlets showing that diversity training fails to change attitudes, doesn't increase diversity, and isn't helping companies meet CEO diversity goals. So bottom line is World War II proved that if we will take people based on their merits and capabilities, we can be successful. When we don't, we violate everything and we don't even meet our goals.
That's right, and it's just logic that tells you it's ineffective, right? Anytime that you are making a selection criteria that is not based on who can do the job the best, it's insulting to everybody, and you're not going to do very good work. And we have lots and lots of stories of businesses who have shot themselves in the foot because they cared more about the skin-deep diversity of what your skin color is, rather than can you deliver great value to our customers, can you drive our business to be effective.
Well, we're going to have to take another break. When we come back, let's talk solutions. What is RedBalloon doing to solve this problem?
I love it.
I'm Kevin Sorbo. When you spend money, you consider who you're buying from and the causes they support? If you don't, then you're likely supporting companies that are trying to destroy our country and take away our freedoms. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They're a cell phone company and a good one. They offer nationwide coverage on the best 4G and 5G networks along with 100% US-based customer support. But here's the deal. Patriot Mobile's mission has nothing to do with cell phones. They carry out their mission by giving back millions of dollars every year to Christian conservative causes that are actively engaged in the fight to save America. Voting is no longer enough to beat the woke. We have to band together, support like-minded companies, and vote with our dollars. That's how we win. Stop supporting companies that want to destroy America and join Patriot Mobile today by visiting patriotmobile.com or call 972-PATRIOT.
Andrew, I've been reading on the blog, and here's a quote. The Bureau of Labor Statistics found that worker productivity has declined for 5 straight quarters and is falling at its fastest rate in 75 years. Then it says Gallup's State of the Workplace found that 47% of all U.S. employees will be looking for new jobs in the coming year. That equals nearly half of the U.S. prime working-aged workforce, even after the Great Resignation of the past few years. So put those two together. How does RedBalloon help solve this problem?
Yeah, well, and obviously part of the problem is people are looking for happiness, and obviously we know they need Jesus, right? Just straight up, right? There it is. But I think that's part of the reason people, they see their vocation, they see their job as an opportunity to feel meaning in life. And the
And that's
reality
biblical.
And it is. It
But
is. Absolutely.
Work is created by God. If you don't work, you should not eat.
That's right. That's right. And so, but they're struggling with this because it is ineffective. It is divisive. And so they're in these workplaces. And think about it like this. If all of your staff here spent all their time or a vast majority of their time working on something other than work, how would the business do? Well, you'd be a frustrated boss and you'd go out of business, right? And so what is happening with these businesses is they're focused on something that has nothing to do with their business, right? We talked about Silicon Valley Bank, but there's so many examples of this. You know, we talked about the $8 billion that's spent. That's just spent on the trainers for DEI, not the lost productivity, not the demoralization of the workforce that you're putting all those people through. So that's where RedBalloon.work comes in. We said, look, we want employers to be able to live in a free society where they can hire the best people and not have to worry about those things. And we want employees to be able to succeed based on their own merits, not based on their skin color, who their parents are, any of these other things.
And match their skills to the job requirements rather than we have to promote someone of this skin color into this job. Well, that person could be miserable if they can't actually accomplish in that job.
That's right. And I've fired many, I've hired thousands of employees, I've fired people. And often when you let someone go because they weren't good at their job, they're grateful later because they're miserable. When you are in a job where you're not happy, you can't feel fulfilled. And so if you're hiring someone based on skin color or based on any of these other criteria that are protected categories, that's going to hurt you. Now, I will tell you, for small businesses in America, hiring is terrifying because if you go into that interview process, if you ask the wrong questions, you might get a lawsuit.
Right.
But if you don't ask those questions, you might get a bad culture fit, then get a lot of heartache, and then get a lawsuit.
Right.
And so I will tell you the number of businesses I've talked to through RedBalloon who are just terrified of that hiring process. So here's what we do. So we are a job board. In other words, you can go post jobs. You can look at our resume database, which is really the largest resume database of job-seeking patriots in the world. So you can do that. Or what we started for a number of our smaller businesses, they said, can you just take over this hiring process for us? Because you've done it before, we have a labor lawyer on staff, we can take care of this for you. So what we'll do for a small business is we'll come in, we'll help you write a job posting, we'll do a comp review, we will help you think about the hiring process, we'll build an interview rubric based on the cultural distinctives you want to try and accomplish. Then we'll go and post that job multiple places, we'll direct source people for you, and then we'll do a first cultural interview for you to make sure that that person's going to be a skill fit and a culture fit for your business. Now, you could find a recruiter that might do a lot of these things, and you're going to pay $20,000 to $40,000 if you do that, if you go down that route. And so what I did is I said, okay, what would I want as an employer? I want to know that I have a fixed cost, I don't have a weird perverse incentive, I want to focus on getting the right people in the door so I can just focus on my work. So we charge a flat $4,500 for us to do this entire process. And we've helped fill positions for Electric Mirror, which is in Seattle. Great company.
Yeah, I know them.
Yeah.
Christian
Jim.
Employer Alliance.
Yep, Christian Employer Alliance. And, they had a VP of Inside Sales position open for 15 months that they could not fill because it was so critical that it be a aligned, values-aligned Christian in that position. And so we were able to fill that position in 6 weeks for them for a flat $4,500. And so we want to bring this kind of concierge, white glove hiring process from someone you can trust culturally to these small businesses. So everything from a small Texas radio station to some very large businesses are now trusting us with this hiring process. And it's only going to cost you that much, and you're going to get enormous market intelligence. Every single week you're going to get a report, how many people we talked to, what they said, if they said, I would be interested in this job, except, well, that's market intelligence that you can't get otherwise. And so it has been so fun to just come alongside all of these conservative businesses, and there are a lot of them in America who would actually like to get a values-aligned employee, and we can kind of come alongside and check that box for them. So anyway, that's how we work with employers, the job posting, where we can actually take over that hiring process. And it is honestly the most fulfilling. I've run a lot of businesses, ones with hundreds and hundreds of employees before. This has got to be the most fulfilling work that I'm doing because I'm able to come alongside this freedom economy with lots of people who don't believe the crazy woke stuff, but they don't know where to go. And we've been able to give them an outlet, great employees, and it's just been really, really fun.
Yeah, so I saw that, but I also saw something about monthly charges. Is there a way that you can sign up and use your services monthly? Or?
That's right. So if you just want to post jobs or you want access to our resume database, then you can, for as little as $75 a month, you can be posting a job. You can be out in front of the 25 to 40,000 unique job seekers that are on the site every week looking for businesses where they can be free, where they can work hard, where they can live in the meritocracy that made America great in the first place. So, so you can just post jobs for a very small amount, or we can take over that hiring process. And there are thousands of businesses that think like you do. And I think that's the message. Sometimes when you watch the liberal media, you believe that as a conservative or a Christian, we're the only ones that think the way we do and we're all idiots. Because that's what they want us to believe.
Right.
But we should be encouraged. In just 2 years, we've amassed thousands of businesses, well over 1 million job seekers. There's a lot of people out there that want to be free at work, and they know that that's how they're going to be the most fulfilled at work.
Well, that's huge, but you're going to look back on this in a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you're going to say, wow, how tiny we were.
Yeah, how cute that was.
Yes.
That's right. This is just a good start.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is.
Amen.
And so I look on your website and I see logos from groups we're very familiar with here in the Economic War Room, among them Patriot Mobile, which I'm, for fair disclosure, they're a sponsor of this program. I am on the board of Patriot Mobile. So, but I love that, and that's been the challenge, is rapidly growing. How do we find right employees who share our values? Hillsdale College. I've been associated with Hillsdale College for 30 years. Larry Arnn, the President Arnn, is a great friend. Dr. Arnn. Love him. Love how Hillsdale College maintains their culture. Moms for America, I recently met. So these are all organizations that could be completely destroyed when a little leaven leavens the lump. And you're giving them the opportunity to match the right employee with the right employer.
That's right.
Congratulations. That's great work. Hey, we're going to summarize all this in our free economic battle plan. You can get it at economicwarroom.com. Remember, what we see as a marketplace, our enemies, they view it as a battle space. This is Kevin Freeman from the Economic War Room.